natural, this first quarter interception, to the quicker Jeremy Lincoln, who took it 80 yards for the opening score. And things got worse for Favre. In the third quarter, he seemed to think this fumble was going to be ruled a forward pass. And while he and the rest of the Packers were mulling it over, Dante Jones was there again and took it in for 6. Favre actually had 400 yards passing and 2 touchdowns in this game, but the Bears had 120 yards intercepting and 3 touchdowns, including this 34-yard game winner by Mark Carrier.
We're all in this together, man. There's no offense, defense. This is a team, and today the defense really stepped up and played mighty football.
And if the Bears ever get an offense to go with their defense, they could go to the Super Bowl. Elsewhere, the Patriots continue to play good teams close, but not close enough, letting the Steelers back from 14 points down to beat them. The Vikings, like the Bears, are winning with defense. This interception return and 2 field goals were in up against the Lions, who couldn't manage a single point without Barry Sanders. The Kansas City Seniors continue their sprightly run at the playoffs. Yesterday, Joe Montana took second billing to Marcus Allen, who had 3 touchdowns in the win over Seattle. The Jets scored 6 for the second week running. Unfortunately for them, the Colts exploded for 9 in a field goal frenzy at the Meadowlands. The 49ers struggled early against the Bengals at Candlestick, but eventually won with room to spare. The Redskins' rookie running back Reggie Brooks continues to be the one bright spot in their dismal season, as well as one of the most feared phrases in broadcasting. His 78-yard touchdown run helped the Skins pass the Bucks. And finally, the Cardinals started what they hope will be a late-season run to save Joe Bugle's job with a big home win over the Rams. Onto the tables then, and the Giants now have a 2-game lead in the NFC East, although the Cowboys, who played a game less, can trim it back to 1 with a win over the Eagles. It's a 3-way tie in the Central, with Chicago the team in form, and Minnesota hoping to make it a foursome now Jimmy Mack's back. The 49ers lead by 2 in the West. Atlanta's loss at Houston was a big blow to their wildcard hopes. Miami, Buffalo and the Jets all lost, so no movement of significance in the AFC East. In the Central, Houston's winning streak stands at 7. Cleveland will need to break it next week if they want to stay in contention. The Chiefs' lead in the West is now 2, with the Raiders capitalizing on Denver's defeat to move into joint second place. And as we've already mentioned, tonight's game is the Eagles and the Cowboys in Dallas. So all the division races close after 14 weeks and nowhere closer than in the NFC Central. 3 teams tied at 7 and 5. And Bob, we were talking before about the coaching jobs Dan Reeves and Don Shula have done. What about the job Dave Wanstead's done in Chicago?
Right, Dave Wanstead has done a tremendous job. You look at, he's basically taken a Mike Ditka coached 5-11 Chicago Bear team and made them a Dave Wanstead coached 7-5 team, which I think says a lot for his coaching ability and his motivational ability. I think obviously he's a little bit more motivated than Ditka was in his last year and getting out of the game. But you look at that whole division. I think early in the season we expected to see Green Bay do much better with their free agency acquisitions with Reggie White, Bill Moss, so many of those guys that they brought in. But they were a little bit disappointing early on. As of late, they've really come along, but I don't think anybody has come along and developed at the most appropriate time, which is this run to the playoffs, as the Bears have. And I think you really have to look to Dave Wanstead and say that he's the guy that's going to get him to the playoffs.
All right, well, the big news off the field this week was expansion. The NFL seems to have declared 1993 the year of the cat. This is the helmet of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Jacksonville, Florida, that is, which on Tuesday beat Memphis, Baltimore, and the favourite St. Louis to become the 30th team in the NFL. In October, you'll remember the league awarded the first of its 2 expansion franchises to Charlotte and the Carolina Panthers. The big question now is where to put the 2 big cats when they start playing in 1995. And that's where things start to get complicated. A recent study over here showed that American school children's grasp of geography is almost non-existent. And no wonder they grow up watching NFL games which teach them that Phoenix is in the NFC East, while Atlanta is in the NFC West. And a quick look at the real map of America shows you just how warped the league's positional sense is. So with a nice round figure of 30 teams to play with, this is the perfect opportunity for the league to get its bearings and draw up new divisions which have some bearing on where teams actually play. Club owners will start talking about realignment in the new year, and things could get interesting. One possibility is a Southeast or Gulf Coast division containing both expansion teams, along with Miami, Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Another alternative would bring the Saints into the division at the expense of the Panthers. Or how about Dallas, Phoenix and Houston moving en masse to the NFC West, setting up an annual Texas rivalry between the Cowboys and the Oilers and pitting them both against the 49ers. Of course, it's not that simple because every team has its own priorities, and pleasing everyone would probably take a special session at the United Nations. Atlanta, for example, would be ecstatic to escape the NFC West, and the long-distance view they usually have of the 49ers running away with the title. The Cowboys, on the other hand, would take some persuading, preferably in used dollar bills, to give up lucrative old rivalries like the one they have with the Redskins. And just in case this has all been too easy to follow, there's the added possibility that some teams might jump before the NFL starts pushing, because the cities that fail to win teams in the expansion lottery have now got their checkbooks out to try to buy one. St. Louis has hopes of landing the Patriots, and Memphis is a long shot to get the Bengals. But perhaps the most likely team to move is the Rams, whose owner, Georgia Frontiere, is apparently listening to offers from Baltimore. Of course, the reason people in Baltimore are trying to buy a team is that they lost one when the Colts were lured away to Indianapolis. So you see how this story starts to repeat itself. Bob, you were talking earlier in the season when Pittsburgh played Cleveland about what a great rivalry that was when you were there. The league's got to be sensitive to that sort of thing when it talks about realignment.
Right. Well, the league has always been very sensitive to the fans and the fans' wants and needs. One of them being their love for these rivalries, whether it be Cleveland-Pittsburgh, whether it be Raiders-Broncos. You know, you can go on and on with these intercity rivalries, and I think they will be very sensitive. They don't want to break up a good thing that draws a big viewer audience. I think one thing that they should be more concerned with is some of these new colors they're bringing into the league. I mean, teal blue in Jacksonville. Come on. I mean, how many kids are going to go, Dad, I want that teal T-shirt? I don't think so. Think about it, man. Think about it.
Surprised nobody went for purple, given your heavy support of the colour this season, Bob. All right, that's about it for this week. Next week, Joe Montana goes for his third straight start, which will be something of an achievement. And the Chiefs will need him because they're at Mile High Stadium playing John Elway and the Broncos. Should be a good one. If it's not, though, we'll bring you whichever game is. For now, though, from Bob and me, good night.
American football. 987. Sponsored by Budweiser.
War is black and white, so administer some color.
Amen.
MASH tomorrow at 10. That is all.
A preview of Sunday's live game, the latest European action, plus hot news on Gaza.